Hey, my peoples. It says your blind buddy again. Coming with the flashlight. I hope you see it. Um, this here is gonna be a part 3 of this consolidated, educated commentary. And I like to start it off as saying that, and as well as it's my life. You can't tell me what to say. You know, it's gonna be my life. This here is more or less it's kind of a sensitive and it's a touchy subject, and I want to let those that will hear this know in advance that I'm not being mean. I'm being as sensitive as I can be because of the nature of the topic, and it's God's daughters. This is to God's daughters. It's about God's daughters, and it's being distributed in a caring manner. But you have to understand that if you consider yourself one of God's daughters, then you have to listen, to what the Spirit will tell you, because every little girl can attest to their father. They love their father, and if you don't, it's because you have no knowledge of who the father or what a father is, and you have to have instruction when there's been a tearing in your perception of what a father is and who you are to that father. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm with a lady, and she's a female, and she had to come to understand, and I'm pretty sure she has insight as well as I do on things, and it's because what she has chosen to learn about one of God's daughters on her own. It's not because it's me brainwashing or putting over things that try to make me look like I'm trying to belittle a woman and put her in a in a place that would suggest she's not part of who God intended her to be. You know, the godly part of who God's daughters is the obedience that daughter would have to her father, and doing what the father would ask her to do in the manner, rather than rebel and try to manipulate and force the hand of the father to get her way. That is not the behaviors or the characteristics of a daughter that would belong to the Most High. The Most High, his daughters are very obedient because they understand where they come from. They come from the image of who the Father is. That image that the Father created of himself, which would become a father to the very daughter that he took her from. The image, which is man. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, in order for her to continue to be that daughter that God created her to be, in the mannerisms of a helpmate to the image. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that image was not tarnished. It's not blaming. I'm not trying to put a blame game. I'm just wanting the daughters of God to have a better understanding of who they are, rather than who they've been told they are. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
This has come from part of who the curse from the beginning.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So in order to repair that, there has to be a coming to the table of where you have to be willing to listen to instructions, hear instructions, hear what is actually supposed to be, You know, and the truth has to come in order for you to understand how much of a lie you have been living. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In order to be, and who you've been told that one of God's daughters is, you have to, yeah. This world is,
Opposite.
yeah, it's very opposite.
The complete opposite of what we have been taught a
Yeah.
woman is. Completely.
Yeah. And the Bible, which everybody is familiar with, speaks of a kind of woman that is not a daughter of God.
All over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the Bible.
In the Bible, yes.
The contentious woman, the harlot, the Jezebel, it speaks of different kinds, but all of them come together to be one thing, and that's not a daughter that would be associated with God. God's daughters are familiar with where they come from. They know they come from a complete vessel that God created. So in order to continue on into forever, they have to continue to stay adjoined in the spirit of where they come from. You understand?
I do.
Which is the image. Now, the Bible tells you that, in the end times, woe unto the woman. She'll be craving her husband. And that husband, women today see it as a physical male. No, it's the knowledge. The knowledge of who that man is in the image of what a woman seeks, which is the father. Because she wants to be around her father. That father is in the spirit. So that man has a grave responsibility and a duty to stay in that image in order that that female can get back to her father. That's why a lot of women now on this earth in these times are torn, because there are not enough men that will tell the truth, and there's not enough women that will believe it because of the rebellion and the deception of what woman has been told that she is. The men, or what are supposed to be men, have been given a watered down version of what they're supposed to be in the image that was given to them by the very woman. And it's caused him to grow to think that he is as she is, rather than him being what he is supposed to be, which is a image that she should follow, not the other way around.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So if you're portraying these things upon what would be your transportation back into where you come from, you're destroying your vessel, trying to make it like you and what you think it ought to be. That's not a daughter of God. That's not how God's daughters handle themselves. God's daughters follow that image back to where they come from, so they may live in that spirit of where they come from forever. Not in a place where you're going to destroy the very vessel that's supposed to bring you back home.
Right.
That's where that seeking that knowledge. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So, in order to come back to the Father, you got to come back to the image. Because that image that the God created man in has to interlock himself with the spirit of the Father and the Son, that he become the connection of the Holy Spirit, which is one, the Holy Trinity. The woman fits next to what two come together, they make one flesh. That's simply just the woman, the rib coming back, completing the man in one soul, that both may be free. You understand what I'm
I
saying?
do. A lot of women are gonna be able to handle that.
They're not going to like it because it's the lie that makes them want to have charge of that. If you had charge of that, this world would already be perfect. That's why it's only going to forever be perfect in the Father's house, where the Father reigns, where the Father rules, not woman. The daughter does not run the Father's house. You have to understand that. And as long as you get upset at hearing things like what I'm saying, you can guarantee that you're not one of God's daughters. Because one of God's daughters respects the Father. They honor the Father and they obey the Father. They don't rebel against the Father. You understand what I'm saying? They don't try to manipulate the Father. They don't lie on the image. They don't destroy the image that God created for them to follow back home, to be his daughter forever. You know, you have to understand that. Now, if I'm making you mad, it's only because you're not one of God's daughters. So I have a duty to not care. You know what I mean? I really have a duty to not care because I don't care about women that are not God's daughters. Because if you're not one of God's daughters, then you belong to the world. And if you want to belong to the world, that's fine. It's fine. You know, you don't get mad at me because this is consolidated, educated commentary. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to participate in it. It's only for those that want to be educated.
Right.
If you want to be educated, here it is. It's consolidated.
I guarantee nobody's ever heard it like that before.
You know what I mean? It's right there for you. And it's coming to you in a manner to where, hey, this is milk. It's milk. Like I said, you want to go back to the Father? You better attach yourself to the knowledge. Because how can you live in a place where you've never lived before? If you don't know how to live in the Father's house, you don't know what's expected of you in the Father's house, how can you live there?
Can't.
You don't know any of the rules. If you were asked to abide by the Father's rules in his house and you choose not to, you don't know. That's why we're on the earth, because we didn't follow the rules of the Father's house. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here. This house is not going to last forever. It tells you in the Bible, the heavens and the earth shall pass away. Now, I don't know about nobody else, but passing away to me sure do sound a lot like dying.
Yep.
It's be no more. The heavens and the earth shall pass away. God gonna kill the sky and everything that's in it. Now, you don't want to mess with somebody that can kill the sky.
Mm-mm.
And slap everything that's under the sky in the same place he slapped the sky. You don't want to be under his hand when the wrath comes down. And it spoke of a place called a new heaven and a new earth. God's image knows where that place is. If he's following that in that manner, God's sons knows where God gives his sons a house. And that house, you have to know what that is consists of. There's rules to living in this house. And if you don't follow those rules, eternal darkness is your only residence. And you sure don't want to find out the accommodations ain't nothing but a bed of fire. You don't want to find this out. And to all the men, you have a duty. You're letting these women walk around here blind because you're too busy trying to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
God is going to hold you personally responsible because you're destroying, you're allowing an image that He created you in to be destroyed by one that you should be teaching. Because you want to cater rather than take charge and do what you know is supposed to be done. Yeah, I've had to come through life and had to learn a lot of things that I've done wrong. And you best believe, when God said, get your house in order, He means it. He means it. And if you don't know what He means by house, it means the life that you have lived here. You better go back and make sure that you ain't done nothing that's going to cause somebody some permanent damage, because you will answer for it. You will answer for it. And all the things that I know I've went through and done, I've asked people to forgive me. And, I'm being obedient in the spirit, and people have come to me, I ain't forgiving you. I'm like, well, it didn't take away anything. That's why I'm sitting here today. Just because you didn't forgive me didn't mean God was going to destroy me. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? I'm still here today to let you know. I still ask for forgiveness, and I still give forgiveness. You understand what I'm saying? Because the place of forever, if you can't find forgiveness, you won't find forever. Guarantee you. Because in the dark, tell you, there's a black hole in space for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's an eternity. We're just right there. I'm going to tell you, I was thinking, I said, you can't see a soul here. Eternal darkness, where I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of souls. You can't see a soul would have to be pretty much matching the darkness if you're going to go to a place of eternal darkness. You know what I'm saying? A soul has no physical form. Just like in the beginning, the earth was void. Huh? The darkness was upon the deep. You know what I'm saying? Let there be light. And there you was. And you just didn't know you was ready to be formed. From darkness. That already existed and still exists. You understand what I'm saying? So far as we know, outer space is just a whole bunch of souls stuck in a place where they can't see nothing. Huh? It's so many of them it make a pitch black picture.
That's a lot.
Huh? I know I say a lot of things that may sound, totally obscene and profound, but I tell you what, think about what I'm telling you. Have you ever seen a soul here? Only way you will see a soul here is you look at the camera, you'll see one. And if you look in the mirror, you'll see one. I guarantee you, if you take what you're looking at away, you won't see the soul that held it up. You don't know where that goes. That could be put anywhere. You know what I mean? In a place where it's pitch black dark, if you can't see it down here with all this light, you ain't gonna be able to see it where it's dark at either. You know what I'm saying? Well, anyway, this is for the daughters, man. Hey, I know it's strong and it might be hard to take, but if you omit what I'm saying, just know you just rebelling against the truth. Now, real, true women of God, daughters of God, you know who you are, and you know I'm telling the truth. Don't rebel against it because you have been hanging with those that will.
Here on this earth too long?
Yeah. You got to come away from all those contentious, rebellious, battling, brawling, full of yourself spirits.
I don't even think that they're like that. We don't even realize that we're like that.
Yeah, and a lot of them call it God. A lot of them say that, and I'm going to tell you something. God ain't going to come out of order for nobody. God got a specific order He created that. It ain't just, it was today, yesterday, and forevermore. Mm-hmm. God ain't going to come out of order. So, you're going to have to get in order. in order to get to God's house. It's not saying that you can't make it there by yourself, but you're going to have to be totally married to the Spirit. That ye arrive in the Spirit and live in the Spirit forevermore. You know, if you're not going to join, then you need to stay by yourself. Don't be running around looking for places that you see if you're real, see if you fit as a real. Cause just cause you jump and join in, you'll fit anywhere. It don't mean it's gonna be the place you want to ride. You got to pay attention to the knowledge that's gonna tell you the right thing, not what you want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You got to be mature enough to be in a place to where you can understand the knowledge that's been given to you or being given to you is for your good.
And not get mad about it because of how it looks.
Yeah.
Because that's what tells you right there. If it makes you mad because of how it looks and sounds, then you're out of order.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't have to speak for her. She speaks for herself. I to learn, you can only learn what you want to, and you take from what you learn, you take from it what you will. Now, if you don't want to take nothing, you'll leave bare-handed. That you take, you can use later on down the road. Don't get down the road with something you should have learned later on down beforehand, and you ain't got it with you. Because you didn't choose to pay it no attention. And you'll wish you had it, because you'll be trying to remember, hey, that was something that was said. You didn't choose to pay it no attention then. So when you get down the road and you need it, don't be surprised if it ain't there. Because if you ain't going to pay the Spirit no attention, the Spirit ain't going to pay you no attention. The Spirit don't abide with us always. And in that sense, the Spirit don't abide with us in our crap. When you in your crap, you by yourself. Because the Spirit is not going to teach you how to disobey God. Understand that? Mm-hmm. And with that, man, I'm going to, like I say, consolidate this, and I hope it educated you. You know what I mean? I hope it educates you. Because it's my commentary. You can't tell me what to say. It's my life. And I'm led by the Spirit. And if you're looking for the Spirit, I'm being led by it. If you can't take what I'm saying, then don't keep looking for the Spirit. Because you're going to keep finding the same thing. Now, if you got if there's a Spirit out there that'll tell you something different than I'm telling you, then guess what? You better run like lightning trying to go back in the sky. Don't be beguiled. God gave woman enmity, put enmity between her and the serpent for a reason. You ought to be able to quickly see when you're being tricked. Don't be the one that's doing the tricking. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, that'll go to Spirit, consolidate some more for you. Educate you a little bit more. And I hope we see you subscribing at least to check out and see what the rest of it is. So you can become what God intended for you to be rather than what you think you ought to be. And I'll check y'all on the flip.